Five Nights 4, the last one in the trilogy, just like number 3 was. No, but this time for reals is. Honest. Maybe. So, here we are at Scott's swan song of the series. So, is it a great send-off? Well, it better be, as he is so eager to show it off that he released it early. Again, messing up my currently messed up schedule even more. But I really want to show it off so I can be known as the man that got 4 games out in 1 year. Want to try and make that 5, Scott? You still got 2 months left before your year's up. I'm sure you can shit out 1 more before you run out of time. So, I'm going to preface this review with 2 points. Point 1. First off, if you are a full-on FNAF fanboy that won't have a single bad thing said about Freddy Senpai, walk away now, as I'm going to be saying quite a few negative things about this game and the series as a whole towards the end of the review. And if you are a total fan, like somebody I can mention, you are going to get pissed off very easily. Hashtag phone guy is purple guy. Point 2. You may have noticed that the footage playing in the corner there is Nate Wants to Battle. He's a cool guy, go check him out. His footage will be running on mute for the duration of the video till near the end, where both he and another YouTuber will be played to further solidify a point I have about one of the core mechanics. But we shall get to that later. First off, let's start with the easiest thing, the music. There is none. It's just silence. Not even the static noise when you change the cameras, or the phone guy rambling on in the background. Well, that was easy. Let's move on. The setting and the graphics. This, in my opinion, is the best part of Five Nights 4 and the series as a whole, as it allows relation to the player. As I've never worked in a Chuck E. Cheese. We don't even have them over here in England. Nor have I ever worked in an amusement park, as again, unlike Disneyland, they're more rare over here. But I do live in a house. And like all kids when I was 4, 5, 6, I did have a fear of the dark, you know, seeing things move even though there was nothing there. Funny thing was, I was not scared of the scary things. You see, my sister's boyfriend was not the most responsible babysitter, so one night when he was babysitting, he allowed me to watch the original Aliens with him. The original Aliens, with people dying, when I was 4. Completely fine with it. I thought that the alien was cool. I wanted to be one. And I even dressed up as one for Halloween once. Watched Nightmare Before Christmas that was intended for kids a week later, and I had nightmares that my toys, like Buckaroo, was evil and going to try and kill me. So yes, work that one out. Insane, bloodthirsty xenomorph that killed people in nasty ways. Cool as balls. I want to be a xenomorph. Buckaroo, that shit is too spooky for me. Leading me into the setting itself. As while it's true that robots have no reason to be in a house, and yes, Amnesia is 10 times the horror game FNAF will ever be, you have to turn back time for yourself. Like 15, 20 years. Put yourself in the mindset of your younger child self. And remember that this is the thing that you did as a 4-year-old. When the lights went out, you grabbed any kind of light source you could to shine around your room and scare off the monsters. So it certainly adds a lot more atmosphere that previous games didn't have. And oh my god, that phone over there with the face only confirms my thing about Buckaroo, that toys are more scarier than an awesome black lizard running around in the vents. And if you're wondering why I keep mentioning this childhood story, don't worry, we will be coming back to that in a moment, so keep that in mind. But before we go into that, let's just have a quick look at the graphics. Let's be honest, they're shit. Absolute garbage. They look like something off an old PS2 game or Slenderp the Arriving, all except for the animatronics themselves. They're quite high quality. Now, normally this would be something to complain about, but for this game it works well, as there are other games that follow this example, and I'll explain why. You see, when you're making a game based in the dark, you need to make sure that you can define certain items and creatures in the dark, and this is one of the tricks to doing so. That is to make all of the backgrounds and other objects look like shit, so that when something important is on screen, the high quality model sticks out over everything else. And being in the dark, you won't really see the low quality textures anyway, unless you're like a critic like me that's actually looking for them. So in a game like this, the bad quality textures compared to the high quality models works, as when you're looking down the hallway and you need clear indication that something is moving down there, there you go. When you look, you can clearly see that there is an animatronic moving at the end of that hallway, which is a lot better than Five Nights 3, where you could not see Springtrap for shit, as he was a low-quality model in a low-quality environment. But this brings us on to the models themselves, and that story that I kept bringing up. The new animatronics look garbage. Not in terms of their textures, no, they're high quality and look good. More in terms of their design. Remember in my story how I said I loved the Xenomorph as a kid, but had a nightmare over the Buckaroo toy? Well, this translates into this game. You see, the reason why the first game got the praise it did was because you made them look accurate to the real fast food robots. A metal skeleton in a suit that doesn't feel quite right. To better further my point, take furries for example. They make some nice high-quality fursuits, especially the professionals like Don't Hug the Cacti and Mix Candy seen here. And corporations that make mascot suits? Not so much. And with the design, Scott clearly knew what a furry was and their existence, and based the model somewhere in the middle. The design was creative and looks like it was drawn by a furry, but it looks like it was built by a corporation, so it had this vibe of uncomfortableness, as it was not amateur nor professional. It just sat kind of awkwardly in the middle, and you had to stare at these awkward things for 6 hours on your shift. Then, the toy animatronics took it to the next level, so to speak, as everybody hates them creepy toy dolls that try to look bright and happy but just look creepy. Here in FNAF 4, spikes. Spikes everywhere. Wither everywhere. These are the ones that are trying too hard and come out looking like overdone arse. This is where my story comes in. You see, the Xenomorph was supposed to be scary, so its design was built around things that would look scary, and while it looks perfect, its horror lay in not seeing it till the end and letting your imagination scare you into what it might be. And while this is fine and is the best move they ever made, the actual movie corporation themselves were like, "What's scary? Oh yeah, spikes, add one of them to the tail. No eyes or Zalgwise, let's add a dome over its head. Sharp teeth, actually, you know what? Not just sharp teeth, let's not add one set, but a second set inside the first. Oh yeah, and acid, I bet we can do some sweet, face-melting, scary stuff with that." Which, to a kid, looks more cool, as it's like, yeah, I have a tail with a blade on it, and I can swing it round and kill bad guys, and so on. As it's hard to tell people what to be scared of, as everybody has different fears. So when you try and make something intentionally scary, it's either going to come out not scary, but looks really frickin' awesome like the Xenomorphs, or these animatronics that are not scary, and you look at them and say, you were clearly trying too hard to make them look scary, and now they look arse. Whereas the more simplistic ones, be it the originals or the toys that came across more creepy, as it was something more real and close to reality, something that was easily made to be creepy. The originals were creepy, as it was believable. Kids believed the Chuck E. Cheese animatronics were alive and evil because they look terrifying. The toys look creepy, as we have all seen those dolls that are supposed to look cute, but just look creepy. And these are real things that you can relate to. Whereas when you stick Mega Man style video game spikes all over it, it's just like, look, we stuck spikes all over it. It's really good because it's scary now because it's got spikes. And this big atmosphere that I was praising moments ago of, you got the right mindset of a child. I am got to think like a child and play as a child. perfect protagonist. You got the right setting to put the child in. A house in the dark. Like 4-year-old children are terrified of the dark. I was terrified of the dark when I was a child. And you set it up beautifully. But then you're like, oh, we've got to throw like the most stupid designed animatronics up ever. Whereas if you'd stuck with the toy ones or the originals, whoa, Mike died there for a second. But yeah, if you'd stuck with the toy ones or the originals, it would have come across more creepy because it's like, look at that phone that child has got sitting right there. That phone looks creepy, and this is something the child is supposed to play with. So, if he thinks the phone is creepy, and that phone and that caterpillar look creepy, to see one of the toy animatronics pop its head through the door, he would have been like, oh shit, it's like my phone, but bigger! Oh, that is terrifying! Whereas the new ones are like, I've got spikes. Lots of spikes. I'm with her. Are you scared, little boy? And it's like, no, I'm not. Because you're trying too hard. So, yeah, my opinion, the new animatronics just look completely stupid and trying way too hard to be scary when the other ones just come off more creepy and they didn't really have any effort put in them whatsoever. It's just like, hey, here's a toy rabbit. I didn't really have to put any effort into it because the creepiness factor works for itself. Hey, here's the originals that look like Chuck E. Cheese robots, which just look terrifying anyway. I don't have to put in any effort because the fear factor works for itself, whereas the new ones are just like, I've got to try and make these look ridiculously scary. I need to put spikes on them, I need to put wither on them, I need to give them the red glowing eyes because red glowing eyes are evil. It's like, yeah, you tried too hard. But enough about the animatronic design. Let us move on to the bit that I've been avoiding, which is the gameplay, and I've been avoiding it for good reason because, ooh, this is where a lot of people are going to be like, how dare you say this about Freddy Senpai? You take that back about Freddy Senpai. Well, let's not waste any time and get right into it, shall we? So, let's get into the final part, the gameplay. Now, so far, I've been mostly nice, saying things like the setting is great, and the graphics complement the setting, and the old animatronics and the toy animatronics look great, but this one looks like arse, but fair enough. But the gameplay is where you walk away if you're a FNAF fan, as this is where the real fun begins and where I'm going to start complaining. You see, I've never really got the hype behind FNAF, as it's Night Trap. Stop! Don't even begin to type your comment about how it's not. It is, and you know it is. It's Night Trap. You sit in a room, checking cameras and pressing buttons to make stuff happen. It's Night Trap in all but name. Not that this is a bad thing. Night Trap is cheesy and can be kind of fun. And FNAF 1 had a good idea, as did FNAF 2 with no doors and extra layers of tension from having to check certain things like when Foxy's gonna run for your ass or wind up the music box. Now here's what I hate, and this is where it all falls apart. I hate the game over screen. That stupid scream when you lose. This is what the whole series has become based around, and I fucking hate it, because it's a big, stupid, YouTube cash-grabbing lie. Jump scares can be effective, if done right. FNAF does not do them right, as by the time you get to the last night, you're going to hear that obnoxious sound every 2 minutes, and it gets real annoying real fast, and whoever sits there screaming like an idiot for YouTube, not gonna name names, is acting. I'll admit, when I played the first game for the first time, I fell for it, and I screamed at the jump scare. Once, maybe twice. That's it. After that, you know it's coming. When you hear the music box run out, you know it's coming. When Mangle Senpai is on the ceiling looking down at you like, I'm gonna rape you in a minute, it's only a matter of time before she gets you. You know it's coming. And yet, people still scream like idiots. Even now, on number 4, where it's expected. I've seen videos of people on night 3, on night 4, and even on night 5. And they've had 3 to 4 nights to see what the jump scare is and when it's coming. Yet they still scream like idiots on night 5, even though it happened to them like 6 times already. Because night 5's hard as fuck. And it's like, oh man, I died 2 minutes ago, but you got me again 30 seconds later. I totally wasn't expecting that. Let's start again. Oh, you got me again 30 seconds later. That's more YouTube money right there. And this, my dear children, is the root of the whole problem. Everything wrong with all 4 games can be summed up with this one jump scare. The first one is fine. Go for it. It's how the game was made. The second one, again, it's fine. I'll accept it. It was a sequel / prequel, whatever. It was fine. Now, both 1 and 2 sold great. So Scott had a lot of money for the third one. And the third one was crapped out and was bad. We won't go into that one, as this is the one that we're reviewing, and this is the one that I had high hopes for, as even though 3 was a pile of garbage, it still sold like hotcakes, and it had the FNAF name. Scott then said this would be the last one. So, this is the last one. You know, I better put all my money, time, and effort into making something really amazing, something big and grand to go out and end out the series. Something that's really yeah, right, here's the same shit you've done for the past 3 games. 12 AM to 6 AM, check doors, end up muting the sound and the audio because you just can't deal with that obnoxious scream that wears out its welcome long ago. So, apparently my mic keeps cutting out. I don't know what's wrong with it today. Maybe it's the FNAF fans. They know, they're like, how dare you say something bad about Freddy Senpai. I will make sure that I hack this review so you stop saying bad things. Don't you dare do that. Well, you know, we've got to say some bad, and if Scott made a 5th one, maybe it'd make the 5th one better rather than you all praising this piece of garbage. But yeah, so the reason why, and this is why I brought up this Scream and I've just got on a tangent about Scream, is because number 4 could have been something good. And if it was like Alien Isolation or Amnesia, where you hid in a fridge and you ran away and there was a jump scare once in a while when they finally caught you, it could have been something good. But because the entire series is now chained to this stupid Scream, it's like, well, PewDiePie and Markiplier and Razbowski and everybody else has to get their YouTube money, and they have to scream like idiots, so I better center the game around this stupid Scream and make sure that that obnoxious Scream shows up every 2 minutes so that they can scream like idiots every 2 minutes. And it's like, why? Why, Scott? If it was like Alien Isolation where you got to walk around the pizzeria in the dark, people would still scream when the jump scare finally happened. I think people would be more scared, but that's the first mechanic. Let's that's like the first problem. Let's just go into the new mechanic for FNAF 4, which is the breathing. And this is a good idea, and the breathing could have worked, but it doesn't. It is broken. This is where Nate Wants the Battles footage is going to come in. So, what you're supposed to do is when you go to a door, it's dark. You can either flash your light, see if there's an animatronic, or you can listen for the breathing, and if you hear breathing, close the door, you hold the door shut, because, a 5-year-old child can easily overpower a military-grade hardware robot in terms of who can pull the door the hardest. But you have to listen for the breathing, and if you hear the breathing, you hold the door shut till it runs away. You can't hear the breathing! There is no breathing. The breathing is broken and does not work. And this is where Nate's footage comes in. Let's unmute Nate now, because it's near the end of his video, and let's hear what he has to say about the breathing.
I'm gonna shut this. I don't know. The flashing's happening, which I'm assuming is Freddy. This isn't stopping it. No, nobody! Okay. So, I did not hear any breathing whatsoever. Held the door shut. I followed the instructions. And still, we did not have success on night 1.
Still not convinced? Well, let's switch over these videos to Mr. Jim Sterling and listen to his statement.
Still can't hear nothing. There's nothing else to click on, is there? I can hear plates and things being played with or something. Still can't hear no breathing.
There you go. And this is not just Nate and Jim. I've watched many other videos where people have said they can't hear the breathing. I can't hear the breathing. I've listened to many people that I know on Skype playing the game and saying they can't hear the breathing. And that is a problem because you need to define. You need to, like, if you had the Darth Vader. You know, that is distinct breathing. And you know, but this really, like, I'm watching Audacity, by the way. Could you hear that? I saw the little bar vibrate, but could you hear that? Because I bet you couldn't. And that's a problem. Now, this isn't to say the mechanic's a bad idea. There are games like, I think it's called Perception, where you're blind. You are playing as a blind person, but you use the strange sounds in your ears to navigate where you're going. It's a great idea, but it just was rushed. Because that's everything about 3 and 4. Rush it. It doesn't matter if it's the final one. Rush it out. And also, you know, hold the door shut. Because as you know, a 5-year-old child can easily overpower a military-grade hardware strength robot when it comes to who can pull the door the hardest. But I digress. This would have been a cool mechanic, but it does not work. It's buggy and broken, and several times both I and friends were just trying to hear and we couldn't, and I'm disappointed. And let's just move on to the final verdict. Also, this is post-editing literally before the video gets processed. I have been informed that Scott has been made aware of the breathing failure and is going to change the audio file to something a little bit more distinguishable so you can definitely tell when there is breathing. So, good on you, Scott. It's good to see that you have been informed and you are listening to people and you are going to change the audio file. Although I still have to apologise and say it ain't going to change my verdict. Sorry about that, buddy. So, as we all thank God for Jim Sterling, this brings us on to the final verdict for FNAF 4, which is a disappointing 2 out of 5. Sure, it might have nice setting and graphics that complement each other, but there's nothing new to be found here. It's the same stale jump scare that wore out its welcome long ago. The gameplay is mediocre, and it's hard to believe that the new mechanic even works from all of the complaints that I have both seen and experienced for myself. And on the whole, I'm just left feeling disappointed at FNAF 4. With all the money that Scott had, he could have made something really fantastic to send off the FNAF series. You know, Scott, if you're watching this, then what I wish from you is to really send off this series with a full-on 3D Five Nights at Freddy's game that is like Alien Isolation or Amnesia: The Dark Descent, where you get to walk around the pizzeria in the day, looking at the animatronics for an hour. Then the real game begins after an hour, where you're walking around this giant pizzeria, like use the attic and the basement if you need to make it bigger, running and hiding from animatronics in fridges and things that learn based on what you do, trying to catch you. Not this night trap crap, as I know, Scott. I know you're a good game maker, and you can do far better than this. I watched a video of your first game, not the one with the beavers, your sci-fi RPG thing, The Far Beyond with the robots. That was a great game. I know you can make better than this, Scott. I know that if you really tried and you really put in the effort, you can be a great game maker. And with all of the money that you had and all of this hype and fan support you had, and you saying that this was going to be your final game, I had my hopes and belief in you was soaring in the sky for you to really make something special. But you just made a crappy Night Trap clone again and released it early again, because I can tell just from the way you released it and the way you did it, you don't care. You don't care anymore. It's like, this series, I don't care about it. I want to do other things. I understand, Mr. Cawthon. You want to do other things. You don't want to be tied down to FNAF for the rest of your life. I understand that, and I can't wait to see the new things you make. I am excited for the new things you make, but in terms of this is your swan song to send out the series, I know you could have done far better. Well, maybe you will in FNAF 5 3D, because as by now I'm sure you all know about Night 7's ending of Five Nights 4, with that locked box that nobody knows what it is, and even the hardcore FNAF fans can't explain it, so I'm sure that's going to be explained in Five Nights 5. So I'll guess I'll see all of you in 2 months when that comes out. Then he really can say that he is the man that made 5 games in a year. Also, I have to knock off a point as you didn't even bring back the best animatronic. Sexy Mangle Senpai. Also, yes, I did not cover the story, as just saying hashtag phone guy as purple that guy has no doubt already earned me a lot of dislikes and comments about this sacred story.